Okay, good evening, everyone, or good morning, or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. Be starting momentarily. Just got back from my travels a couple of days ago. It was very good. I went to Canmore, Alberta. Beautiful spot, right in the mountains. Okay, okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhasa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhasa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhasa. Well, hello everyone. Hope everyone's well. Continuing where we left off before, we're working through the 10 fetters, the samyojanas. These are the particular defilements that bind us to samsara, and they are cross-referenced with the 4 stages of enlightenment because various factors drop away at various stages. And we're into what are called the higher fetters. These are the fetters that remain even at the 3rd stage of enlightenment. That is an anagami, once return or non-returner. This is just short of being fully enlightened, but there still remains five fetters. The anagami has overcome uh, personality view, has overcome sensual desire, but there still remains the desire for being, either in the form or formless realms, and the I am conceit, which we're going to discuss today, and restlessness and ignorance. These five are only overcome by the Arahant. So you can be 3/4 of the way there, and you still have these remaining defilements. Asmi mana is the um, fetter, usually translated as the I am conceit, and it's a pretty good translation. Asmi literally means I am, and mana is to do with the defilement of the mind that we could call conceit. And the English word conceit has a double meaning that I think carries over to a good degree in the Pali. Conceit can either be that one thinks highly of oneself, and there you say a conceited person, or there's another use of the word that may be a bit old-fashioned, but you'll still see it occasionally. A conceit is like an idea or a notion, usually with the implication that it's unfounded. So the important thing to distinguish here, Asmi Mana from Sakaya Ditti. Sakaya Ditti, the personality view, is one of the lower fetters, the first three that are overcome by the stream winner. And this is the person. It's called personality view, usually in English. It's the defilement of that occurs on the cognitive level. It's a belief or a concept of the self as being something real, something metaphysically or ontologically real. And this can be either implicit or explicit. Most people, I think, probably just have an implicit uh, sense of this, but it can also be expounded into a doctrine, as in the soul doctrine or the Atman doctrine. Then it becomes a more formalized. The stream enterer has made a complete ending of this. It's no longer possible for the stream winner to believe in a real self. It the mind can no longer hold that concept as being something real, because the stream inner has glimpsed the unconditioned. It makes an end of these kind of false views. However, it doesn't completely eradicate the sense of self in its totality, because there remains still a subtler form of self view that we call asmimana. Now, this is more subtle, less, and it's said to occur not at the cognitive level, but at the level of perception or sanya. It's a sense of self as that comes through a way of perceiving the universe. It's basically taking a privileged position, like a lack of relativity in perception. One perceives oneself as being the center of the universe and orders perceptions around that point. So it's not, because it occurs at the level of perception, it's not susceptible to being overcome by the cognitive faculties. There has to be a fundamental shift in the being to see through this. In the one analogy, the Buddha says that overcoming the sense of self in the two levels is like washing your clothes. When you first wash your clothes in soapy water, you get rid of the dirt, but the clothes is not yet really clean. It still has a scent of soap, and this is only overcome by rinsing. So it's like a two level process to get your clothes pristine, and so it is with Sakaya Ditti and Asmimana. Now, I said that it has also the English word conceit has these two levels of meaning, and the self perception is kind of like conceit as a notion, but conceit as a self-aggrandizement is also asmimana also applies there, because the way this manifests in practice, in external behavior and thought, way it plays out, is said by the Buddha to take three possible forms, all of which are delusional. One is, I am superior or better than you. One is, I am inferior or worse than you. And the third is, we are equals. All three of these are considered delusional because they're based on this self-reference. You're ordering experience around a self that is unreal. So the anagami is still bound by these defilements, and when an anagami dies, he or she is reborn in the Sudawasa, the pure abodes. There are 5 of these, and the fate of an anagami thereafter is varied depending on their spiritual development. They might become arahants very quickly and pass into nibbana, or they may, at the lengthiest progress, might be to be reborn successively through all 5 of these realms. It's a good question as to why exactly there are 5 of these realms, and it is rather obscure. The only answer that I found, I was able to trace back to a medieval Sri Lankan text that relates them to the five faculties, the Indriya, the, faith, wisdom, energy, samadhi, and mindfulness. And the whichever faculty is the strongest in an individual case will determine what realm they're born in. But this is a rather late, I think, speculative opinion, and it's kind of obscure why there has to be five of these realms. I also think this is probably the seed or the origin of the later Pure Land Buddhism. The name is rather suggestive, Suddhavasa, which means Suddha is pure or clean or pristine. So the pure land or the pure abode. They're classified as part of the Rupa Bhumi, which is the level of the Brahmas, but the reborn anagamis in these realms are not really Brahmas as such. And it appears that they're not always in a state of deep samadhi like the higher Brahmas, because they do interact. And there are stories about anagamis coming from the Suddhavasa to intervene on the earth to help someone in their practice. And there's also one story of the Buddha going up to visit that realm, and they all gathered around and greeted him and listened to him. So there's not much really more to say about this. I think it's rather short, but I think they've covered the ground, and we'll go on to the chat and see if, please feel free if you've got any questions or you want to spark a discussion in any direction. There's one question right here. Is being happy who I am the end of the three types of conceit? Yeah, I would say that's a outcome of that. I would think the end of the three types of conceit is really giving up on the reflex or the habit of comparing yourself to others. And all three of these have their own problems. And obviously, if someone thinks I am better than you, I am some kind of superior being, that arrogance is obviously a defiled state of mind. But also, if someone thinks they're worthless, I'm no good, I'm less than other people, that's pathological too. And even the sense that we are all equals, that can become very prickly and cause friction, insisting on this concept of an artificial equality. Next question: Can you not believe in a self and not know conceptually? These concepts make sense to us when we reach a certain age and wisdom, but a reborn Setopana is 5 years old, has no idea what these stuff means, and kind of conceptually believes, but still has the fetter removed for good. Yeah, this is a kind of an open question, and there are different opinions on what happens with a reborn Sotapanna, whether they're reborn already without a sense of self, if they've already, those fetters no longer active even from birth. There's another opinion that they are not necessarily born that way, but they will for certain reattain to stream entry early in life and very easily without any great degree of effort. But certainly, even if someone was, if the fetter is removed already from birth, yeah, they wouldn't have a conception of self. And even an ordinary unenlightened, let's say, baby has no real sense of self. That's something that kind of develops with the developing cognition. Pure Land is mentioned often in Mahayana tradition. Question: is there any way to turn conceit to be useful? No. No, conceit is classed as a defilement. There's no way it's useful. Off-topic question: would you consider Mahayana or Vajrayana ordination inferior to theravada ordination, or does it matter as long as the person is a serious practitioner? Well, I don't think the whether the ordination is in Mahayana or Vajrayana lineage is really affects the validity of the ordination, as long as the lineage is a true one, meaning, and it's nothing to do with the doctrines or what's taught, but where the ordination lineage can legitimately be traced back to the Buddha, and it wasn't just started up at some point. Of course, it's difficult or maybe impossible for us to really know that for sure, but traditional lineages do have claims that are supportable. For example, in the Tibetan tradition, the ordination lineage is a Mula Sarvastivada. It's one of the early schools of Buddhism. The Theravada lineage is from the Theravada, and the bhikkhunis that are ordained originally in the Mahayana tradition or Dharma Guptaka. So all of these are early schools of Buddhism that have equal claims to antiquity, and there's a very good case that they trace back to the Buddha. This is what I think, in my opinion, would make an ordination valid or not. It isn't nothing to do with the doctrines taught by this particular school, but whether the lineage is genuine one that traces back to the Buddha. Next one. Dear Ajahn, what is the right way for one to perceive and see non-self on a deeper level, not just intellectual or accepted only by faith? It's a matter of practice, of seeing the objects that arise to consciousness, and I would say in particular the mental formations, as objective, as not me, not mine. This is something that's done in meditation. You learn to see the objects as without a self reference. There's thought, but there's no thinker. And this is not a matter of theory or conceptual categorization. It's something that needs to be experienced directly, and it's not done all at once, like over the whole range of experience, but a single object at a time, moment by moment. You see this object here is an object. Consciousness is arising to an object. There's nobody doing anything. And gradually that becomes generalized. The fact that there are even brief description of nibbana necessitates the presence of consciousness to report back. It is very difficult to distinguish parinirvana from total annihilation, even vibhavatana. This thing jumped on me. Oh, here we are. No, I lost it. Okay, annihilation, even Vibhavatana, is disbanding of the khandhas, enables any further awareness. The Buddha rejects annihilation based on anatta, but nibbana is also anatta, yet it can be annihilated. Okay, you're again. I think I've spoken about this many times in these discussions. You really tie yourself in knots when you try and figure out nibbana. You can't figure it out. It doesn't make any. It doesn't have any reference to our ordinary experience or our logical categories. So, you know, just give up on that kind of that line of approach. You just end up falling into contradictions and paradoxes. Question: I find difficulties in finding when in my life I have the conceit I am the same. Maybe you could give some example of that kind of conceit in your own life. Thanks. Um, well, I don't know about my own life. I may have probably at times, but I think it becomes more. I see it sometimes as a almost a kind of ideological standpoint that people insist on equality, and they can become very touchy about it. And it still stems from the same as the other two kinds. It still stems from a judgmental attitude and a classification of people, beginning with oneself. To what extent is I am conceit useful? No, it's not useful. It's a defilement. It won't move you towards enlightenment. Mind moments different from world moments, the former being the latter seen. To clarify, rate limitation clearly seen via ultra fast cameras. Okay, yeah, there is a difference. In Abhidhamma, physical processes are said to take 16 times the speed of mind moments. And what and an individual mind moment is very infinitesimal. The actual and in a way, it kind of becomes theoretical. Our actual experience is bundles of these mind moments. And you're right. You can. There are physical processes that are too fast for us to cognize ordinarily. I don't think the two streams are not really equivalent. There's, for example, the case of someone being reborn in the asanya loka, the unconscious realm. They may persist in that realm for very long periods of time, measured in kappas, but it then they're reborn out of there. It's said that it's just kind of in abeyance in relation to the world stream, right? And many of us have experienced a version of that. If you've ever been under general anesthetic for surgery, I once in my life I had surgery where I was put under general anesthetic, and my experience of that was quite remarkable. It's not like being asleep. There is an interruption in the stream of consciousness. The anesthesiologist put the cup on my face with the gas and told me to count backwards from 10. And I go 10, 9, 8, 7. Then I open my eyes and I'm in the recovery room. But the world has carried on for a couple of hours in the meantime. But my mind moments were uninterrupted. It's, you see what I'm saying? That last moment with counting backwards was immediately followed by the first moment of opening my eyes in the recovery room. So I think they're definitely, the streams are separable. They're not exactly the same thing. Is it better to feel content rather than feeling happiness? Well, if you mean by content, opeka in its high food content, that's seen in the sequence of the jhanas. There's piti, sukha, upeka as successively more profound states of well-being. Ajahn, how's your health? I remember you had a cough a few months ago. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I had a little bit of a, I don't know, it passed pretty quickly. A little bit of something. But no, my health is quite good for an old guy. Being conceited is also good because you are confident. You're confident in what you do, what you say, and what you put out, according to Dr. So-and-so. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. Confidence is good, but if it's based on conceit, then it doesn't seem like a very sound basis for being confident. Do you believe in the reality of concepts being personified, like a bodhisattva of wisdom, for example? I couldn't rule it out. The idea of a Tibetan idea of a Sambhogakaya realm of archetypes, like these bodhisattvas of wisdom and so on. It has some it has some appeal. It seems to be a common idea that comes up in different forms. In the West, we had concepts like Sophia, the goddess of wisdom. I think these archetypes or Platonic ideals, the possibility of personifying them is one way of looking at them. I don't know how much truth there is in it, but it might be a useful way of looking at things. Would you consider doing another series of book club sessions? Yeah, I could do that. I found the last one was a little bit disappointing in that I got the feeling that most of the people hadn't read the chapter, so the discussions were pretty off topic. Some people are saying that the stream is getting choppy. Well, we'll keep going. I don't think it's stopped completely yet. Please type into the chat if it breaks up completely. How can a fetter come back after death? Yeah, I'm not. Like I said, there are different opinions on this, and if the fetter, if a stream winner is born as a small child with no sense of self, I think that would be quite. The problem with that view is that I think it would be quite evident to everyone around. There's something really special about this kid, and we don't really hear about that so much. Off topic, Ajahn, in a talk you translated Sachi Karoti, truth as make it happen. But Sachi Karoti is to translate as break. I don't know. I don't recall exactly what context I said that in, but maybe I may have been commenting, trying to analyze the word. But make it happen is not really right for Third Noble Truth. I would say it really means realize or experience. Because you can't make Nibbana happen. You can only prepare the ground. is compared to gardening. You know, you can't make a seed sprout. You can't make a plant grow, but you can prepare the ground. You till the soil and fertilize it and water it and so on. Ajahn, on the book club, the book last time was a bit esoteric, I felt. My prediction is that people would generally be engaged and read the chapters. Yeah, we can think about it. And, you know, my feeling of we used to do that. That was the first one we did on Zoom. We discuss a book, and those worked fairly well.